Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Aaron White Show. And I'm your host, Aaron. Today, we have a fantastic guest, Ellis Kerr. Aaron is a FIFO worker, ex-Navy Marine Tech, and has completed numerous swimming events. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. I'm glad to be on the show.
Awesome. Hey, can you please tell me about your time in the Navy and what got you into going into the Navy in the first place?
Yeah, not a problem at all. So I was at the time I was doing an electrical apprenticeship, domestic sparky in Perth, and always sort of wanted to join the military. At the original time I looked at joining the military, I hadn't actually completed year 10, so I'd gone straight into my apprenticeship and wasn't accepted to sort of go through. So after finishing my apprenticeship, I then went in and joined the military under a trade background and got accepted to join the Navy. So that was one of the reasons I kind of went across and really enjoyed my time in the Navy. So I served for about 8 years in the Navy, as you said, as a marine technician electrician by profession. And was actually lucky enough to serve on HMAS Toowoomba and spent 5 years at sea on that vessel. So that ranged everywhere from doing trips to Singapore and Southeast Asia for training and operations, and also got to do a trip in 2007 up to the Gulf. Did numerous deployments off of the Australian coastline, so between Christmas Island and up top of Australia, doing border protection. So very interesting time. Met some amazing people that I still keep in touch with these days. Got some amazing training as well from our lovely Defence Force.
When all that boat people thing was going on, did you have anything to do with dealing with them?
Yeah, so I did 4 tours. Majority of them were over Christmas time, which was great fun. Back in the early 2000s, and it was while there was a massive influx, obviously, of boat people coming through. So we did quite a lot of operations interacting those boat people. Had to have some come on board our boat sometimes and do some screening. Had some that got towed to Christmas Island, some that got towed to Darwin to go through all of their screening processes and that. So pretty busy and unique experience to be involved in all of that.
Well, it was a bit of a sad thing to see all these people trying to escape their countries. Could you actually communicate? Could they speak English?
Some of them could. Some of them had a lot of broken English. So, yeah, it was actually pretty sad to hear some of the stories. And on some occasions, obviously, when we were going to interact with the vessels and that, they would actually try and sink their vessels. Obviously not being able to communicate with them properly and understand exactly what was going on. So it was pretty scary, pretty eye-opening at the time. My first deployment up there, I was about 22, so I was still relatively young. But it was very eye-opening and a very unique experience.
Why would they sink their vessels? Were they scared of you guys, or what was the purpose behind that?
Yeah, not 100% sure of what the purposes were behind that. I believe that their train of thought was that if their vessels couldn't stay afloat, that we would have to take them aboard. As it was anyway, we were obligated to either tow them to a closest landform, so a lot of the times it was Christmas Island, to send them to the detention centres, or it was like back, as I said, into Darwin or Broome, depending on where we were and what the actual operation requirements were.
Where were they mainly coming from? Was it only one country or a couple of different countries?
I believe it was mainly from Indonesia. The logistics side of it and the comms side of it, I didn't really get much involved with. I was more sort of involved with either the boarding operations or involved with actual the maintenance of the boats. I was the small boats maintainer on board HMAS Toowoomba for quite a period of time. So a lot of the times the small boats would go out and do their boarding checks and come back pretty smashed up and broken, and it was my job to get them ready to go out again.
Oh, sweet. Hey, the initial training, was it really full on, military style that you see in the movies where they yell at you and try to break you down, or was it not that bad?
Like Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so look, the first 3 months was definitely interesting. It was very unique. It wasn't as full on as those movies like your Full Metal Jackets, but it was very similar. So I believe the Americans do it pretty similar to what you see in those movies. The Australian Defence Force is slightly less sort of aggressive, but it is pretty full on. So 3 months of basic training. So you go through recruit school. You live in shared dorms. So I think by memory there was 4 racks, 2 in each, so 8 per dorm. You've got pretty strict routines. You're up at certain times. You have breakfast at certain times. You then have to do parade, theory, physical training. So your routine's set out every day for you. Every night you'll have inspections done. So you finish tidying up your room as such and stand at the end of your bed, and so-called mummy and daddy come through and check that everything's done correctly. So they'll check that your lockers are packed up correctly. They'll check that your bed's made correctly. They'll go through and make sure that you all do everything the same. So the big thing about the military is if you're told to do something, you'll do it the exact same way as the person standing next to you. So yeah, very unique experience. Short hair, all of that stuff. So your head gets shaved, clean shaven every day, clean and tidy. Pretty regimental.
Do you reckon it's made you a better person, like in any way?
Better's probably not necessarily the right terminology. It's definitely given me a different aspect and perspective to life. It makes me think about things in a different way. The training has obviously helped me with being able to manage with certain stresses and different factors that I've had happen within my life. Obviously, you look at things very differently when you've gone through 3 months of kind of living like that. They talk about footy change rooms, banters and stuff like that, and good mates you have through high school. The people you go through like basic training with, you're with them 24/7. You know, you literally eat, sleep, shower, toilet, everything together. You're not more than sort of 2 meters away from someone at all times, and you really bond and build that mateship that you don't sort of get in normal life. I found that routines that they train you and ways to pack your bags and sort your clothes out and wash and iron, sort of skills that you don't learn on normal day-to-day stuff unless you're forced to do it. So obviously now being in FIFO, I found that a lot of that training has really helped me to settle into that lifestyle and be able to be very regimental about how I do things for work, and also regimental about how I do things for my training and that sort of stuff.
We might as well transition into the FIFO. So what are you doing in FIFO?
So I'm crew development officer up in Port Hedland. I'm in the Mooka workshop, so the automated workshop for rail out there. I've currently been in this role now for just on 12 months. Previous to that, I was working for the central maintenance team doing assurance. So I've been FIFO now for about 2.5 years, 3 years. And yeah, really sort of enjoying it. My current role is really good. I kind of work alongside the supervisors and help to develop the team and be able to mentor some of the team members, set up different types of training for them. I deliver training as well, so technical training and non-technical training. I work with the superintendents and, as I said, the supervisors to come up with new plans and strategies on how we're going to upskill our trade people and our non-trade people. And yeah, get to do some really cool stuff with it, get to visit some amazing training establishments. I'm working on doing some programmatic logic controls training at the moment. So getting to work with some good training organisations to see how they develop training material and all of that stuff, and then work with obviously the supervisors to see if that training material is going to be right for our needs. We've got some new jacks and stuff getting installed in the establishment as well. So I get to work with different vendors to see what sort of technology they use, how we're going to train our team and upskill our team for using those jacks. And yeah, pretty amazing stuff, and working at the front line of that technology at the moment.
Sounds very technical. So you're living in a camp there where you are?
Yep, so I'm in a camp. I think it's about a 2,500 man camp up in Port Hedland. So that's obviously had its challenges over the last few months, especially with everything that's been going on with COVID-19. But luckily enough, we've got a pretty good camp up there. It was one of the lead camps when it was first built. So yeah, good establishments. They've got good gyms, swimming pools, nice open mess, good food most of the time. Yeah, so it is a really, really good establishment when it's all up and running. Obviously at the moment it's closed down and there's quite a few restrictions happening.
Have they told you when they're going to open your gym back up?
No, they haven't actually announced that. So I'm currently on R&R. I believe the pool was opened up just before I left camp last time. So I'll definitely be checking in on that one when I get back up there in a couple of days. But obviously with everything that's going on in the environment we're currently in, it's kind of like a day-to-day basis with what's happening with everything. So it gets a bit exciting. You go to work one day and something new's happening. So it's good.
How long do you spend in the pool up there?
Over previous years, I've spent quite a fair bit of time in the pool up there. It's only a little 25-metre pool that's at about 30 degrees. So obviously we'll lead into training a bit later on, I suppose. But with the style of sport and training that I do, I've spent many hours in the lovely little pool in Port Haven.
We can lead into your swimming now if you want. So tell me about some of the awesome swims that you've done. You sent me a big list, and it's pretty massive, pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I got into swimming probably about, well, it must have been 5 years ago now, back in 2015. I was a swimmer when I was younger, but I let it slip by the wayside during my defence time and then getting back into work. I got back into it as a bit of a recovery stuff for playing footy, so I used to play Aussie rules quite a fair bit. So got back into my training there. So over the last 5 years, I've done numerous swims throughout WA. I am trying to stretch out a bit further to the east coast. One of them was cancelled, but I've swam everywhere from Cocos Islands to Lake Argyle, all the way down the WA coastline, Cottesloe Beach. I've done the Rottnest Channel crossing numerous times, all the way down to Albany, and swam in Bunbury, bustled on a jetty. Most of the WA coastline I've kind of sort of covered across the years, doing my lovely swimming adventures. So I suppose, what else do you want to know about my swimming? I'm a passionate swimmer, so I will talk for hours about swimming.
What I'd like to ask is, what type of support do you need? Like going from Cottesloe to Rottnest, do you need like a boat next to you all the time to give you food? Or like, how do you get food and water and all that type of stuff? Or do you have a kayak? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's two major swims that go from our coastline to Rottnest Channel. So there's the Rottnest Channel swim, and there's also the Port to Pub swim. Port to Pub offer a 25k ultra marathon, which is one I'm still needing to get ticked off the list. But for both of those swims, there's quite strict rules to what support you need, and obviously the planning that goes into that. So for both of those big swims, you definitely need a boat for your support crew, and you also have a kayaker for your support crew. Those swims can be done in teams, duos, and solos. So luckily enough, I've been able to experience all of them. I've done them in teams, duos, solos, and as I said, just haven't ticked off the 25k. Feeding wise, depending on what type of swim you do, so you feed differently if you're doing a team swim of 4 compared to if you're doing a solo. So the strict rules to the solos is you're not allowed any buoyancy assistance for the swim. So you're not allowed to hold the boat or the kayak whilst you're feeding for the swim. And then you need to obviously come up with a strategy of what foods and supplements you can take along the way that are easy to get down and to eat and to do quickly, so you can continue swimming and keep that momentum in the water. So a lot of planning goes into it. There's a lot of talk with what your support crew looks like. So I'm lucky enough now that I have 2 skippers that I sort of bounce between that have done the swim for me a couple of times. So they set up all the boat for me, which is brilliant. So I tick that one off the list each time. I don't have to worry. I've got a handful of kayakers that I use. I usually have 2 kayakers on the day in case they need to rotate out. And then over the years, I've started to improve and develop better eating habits for the swim and using different supplements and stuff for the swim. So that's all a planned routine on, what I need to take at what times of the swim, how much liquid I need to take over that period of time to keep the body obviously functioning right. So a fair bit of management. So I have someone on the boat full time that their job is purely to manage my food. It's all packed in little sachets and marked for intervals. So I usually predict roughly what time the swim's going to take me and pack more supplements than that I need. And every 20 minutes basically stopped and given my liquids or my hydrolytes or my gels. And said one person manages that the whole day for me. So it makes it a pretty long and strenuous planning process. But the more planning before the day, the better the swim obviously goes for you. So I've had 4 successful solo crossings from 6 starts, so I must be doing something okay.
Oh, that's pretty impressive. Can you give me some examples of what food you can have? Like, do you eat sandwiches or something, or what is it?
Yep. So over the years, I have started to change what I have, but first year was sort of just a very basic plan. So it was pretty much 250 mils of water, sort of every 40 minutes. And then on the alternating 40 minutes, it was 250 mils of hydrolyte. So I've changed my hydrolytes now. I now use Bindi hydrolytes that are like really good. But so that's just a premix sort of like, setup of hydrolytes there. And on those second stops, when I have my hydrolytes, I'll usually have some sort of carbs. I was eating lemon cake quite a lot in the early days. I've kind of changed across now to sandwiches. So I'll either have peanut butter sandwiches or some form of other cake. And then throughout the day, I stage in sort of glucose intakes. So at about the 15K mark, I'll usually start to upload on sugars, where I'll have jelly beans or snakes, and then I'll start to take a bit of a caffeine hit. So I'll have either caffeine gels or I'll have Coca-Cola flat.
Why flat? Oh, I guess the bubbles just upset your stomach.
Yeah, just the fizz can upset your stomach. So usually, just keep it flat. And usually I have it at room temp. Most of my drinks I don't have cold. I keep them at room temp because when you're in the water for that long, you can have issues with hypothermia because the body temperature starts to drop. So I don't take anything that's freezing cold. So not like my Sunday afternoon beers.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, what do you wear? Do you wear full wetsuit, just budgies?
No, so for the swim regulations, for those big swims, to get them sanctioned and recognised, they have to be FINA approved swimsuits. So Arena, Yingfa, and a couple of the other brands, I think Speedo do it as well. They will do the full compression style swimsuit. You're not allowed any sleeves, and they have to finish at your ankles. So a lot of the sort of most people nowadays sort of wear those suits because it gives you better sun protection and that sort of stuff. I believe the rules have now changed for the Port to Pub 25K swim to match the world marathon regulations, where you have to swim in a brief style bather only. So you can only swim in a brief style bather for some of the bigger swims, obviously around the world. So they've got like English Channel swims. There's a couple in Australia now that they do where you can only swim in the brief style, and that gets you sanctioned that you've completed one of those bigger marathon swims.
Hey, what about sharks and stuff like that? Yep. Like, are you worried about them, or have you had any experiences with them?
So back in 2018, the actual Rottnest Channel swim was abandoned because of a shark sighting. So they do have helicopters and everything flying around, and obviously the drones and people on patrol. So it's dependent on what the grade of shark is that's spotted and identified, and then it's up to obviously the race officials to make the decision on what's happening with the event and make the call of people coming out of the water depending on the risk. Me personally, I tend not to think about it. I have had an experience with a reef shark off a Freo. I had one swim underneath me. It was probably only about 1 metre long, and that was enough to scare the bejesus out of me. So it was a fastest 25 metres I think I've ever swum in my life to get to the shoreline. But look, you tend not to think about it, especially when you're about 5Ks into that swim. The body's starting to hurt. You got everyone going on, like helping you, supporting you. Look around, there's boats and people everywhere. It kind of just leaves your thought of mind. I don't go out chasing the adrenaline and going and diving with great whites in South Africa or anything like that. So I tend to stay away from seeing what's underwater rather than knowing that in the back of my head. So predominantly most of the time you don't really think about it and you just sort of get on with it.
What do you think about? What goes through your head? There's obviously a lot of time there that you're swimming and you've got time to think, I guess.
Yeah, so depending on how the swim's going, as I said, I've had some good swims and some bad swims. You do think about a lot of different things. So obviously I've got a young family at home, so I've got a wife and a daughter. So, think about, what we're going to be doing after the swim, being able to catch up with them and spending some time with them. Think about, I've heard that some females have thought about planning weddings the whole way across. So not sure if that's necessarily true. I've actually planned holidays whilst I've been swimming, working out where I want to go and what I want to do. Also, a lot of the time you're thinking about, depending on, as I said, how the swim's going, you can get yourself into a bit of a rut. So it's about talking to yourself and going, right, 20 minutes at a time, that's all I need to worry about. I'm like 10Ks into the swim, I've got 10Ks to go. Let's start looking at what my plan looks like. So when you stop, you'll be thinking about what you're going to talk to your paddler about, asking them how your stroke's looking. You sometimes will start to concentrate on what you're doing in the water. Am I kicking right? Am I sitting okay in the water? Are my arms going high enough? Do I need to adapt any strokes? And then other times when you're looking up and you know you're getting close to the 15K can and you know you've got a little care package there with some lollies and Coke, you kind of start thinking about how much that's going to be great and enjoyable for you to get through your next stint.
Yeah, it's funny those little things. It's like your lollies and that you look forward to. Hey, are these all for fundraising, or like are you trying to build awareness for different causes, or are you just doing it for the fun of it?
I got into it originally doing it for the fun of it, and then I sort of thought in my head, you know, what can I do that's not just swimming? So I teed up with an organisation called PanCare. So they're an East Coast organisation, and they raise awareness and funds for upper GI cancers. So one of the main ones that they sort of raise funds and that for, and awareness and study for, is pancreatic cancer. So a few years back, I did have a close family member diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I thought it was a good opportunity to, as I said, use my swimming to obviously help in that manner. Not being able to physically help someone going through an illness and a sickness, I thought, how can I raise awareness and even some much needed funds to be able to get some study towards pancreatic cancer? So yeah, I jumped on board with PanCare, and yeah, I've done a lot of swims over the years to do with PanCare. So usually with the Roto swim, you'll see a lovely purple banner with PanCare written on it. I did a swim last November where I got four of my mates to jump in with me, and we did a 24-hour non-stop swim in a swimming pool, relay style. So all of us swam for 600 metres, tagged out, and continued that for a 24-hour rotation to raise funds and awareness for, PanCare. And because of the work I do with PanCare, I also get to go out and meet some amazing people as well. I've been to functions at tennis clubs, tea parties at the back of people's houses out in rural areas to speak about pancreatic cancer, about PanCare, what they do, and how we can obviously raise awareness and ask if people are okay, and go checked out. Early testing for pancreatic cancer is kind of the best sort of results you can get. So early detection for better long-term results.
What is that early detection? Do you have to go see a doctor, and how does that work?
Yeah, so just go see your GP and talk about it. Probably, look, the best thing to sort of say in that is, you know, a lot of us are pretty tough and pretty stubborn people, and, you know, we're, all right, mate, let's just kick on sort of mentality. So if you're not feeling right, just go see your GP and have the conversation. Like, that's the best way to get the early detection. They're not going to be able to help you if you don't go and talk to your GP. So if something's not right, just go have the chat, see your GP. Like, it's never too hard to go and see the doctor to have a chat about anything. You know, I'm feeling a bit flu-like, or I've got lower back pain, or whatever it is. Just go have a chat with them and get your bloods checked regularly and all of that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's pretty good advice. Hey, might as well give a shout out to your sponsors. Who are your sponsors?
Yeah, so I'm ambassador for two companies at the moment. So with my swimming side of it, I've been with Catfish Designs for about the last 2 years. So that's www.catfishdesigns.com.au. Amazing company. They do a lot of triathlon gear and activewear. Some amazing stuff for the females. A lot of funky designs and all of that. They are breaking into the male market a lot more now. So I'm really looking forward to some new things that they're looking at bringing out later on this year. And the other company that I've jumped on board with, been with them now for about 12 months, is Bindi Nutrition. So that's www.bindinutrition.com.au. They're a local West Australian company, so they're based down in Busselton. They've got all your nutrition stuff that you need. So they do protein powders, like natural protein powders. They do hydration packs. They do gels, all sorts of stuff. They've got some really cool information on Instagram too. They've got the Bindi Kitchen on Instagram that shows you products that they use to make nutritious meals and stuff like that. So awesome to have them on board with me as well. Obviously use all their stuff for my training and major events, and just love their products.
That sounds pretty good. I have to look them up on the gram after and follow them. Hey, what's in the future for you? What's your, like, have you got any 3 to 5 year goals, or what's going on?
Yeah, so obviously the COVID-19 is throwing a bit of a curveball in my lovely training. Pool shut down, can only ocean swim in the lovely tough tough weather. So I've been doing a lot of dryland training of late. I don't know if you've seen some of my stuff, seen you like some of my lovely cabin workouts on Instagram. So if anyone wants to have a look, or any FIFO workers want to see some of the crazy things I've been doing on Instagram, feel free, jump on board. I am looking at getting back into the swimming world in some capacity over the next couple of months. I've got a few big ticket items I'd like to tick off eventually in the next few years. So there's 3 big swims throughout Australia that I'd like to get my hands on and complete, and they form the Australian Triple Crown. When I look at doing that, I'm not 100% sure, as I said, not knowing when we're going to open up the borders to be able to travel interstate, but that's definitely a plan within the next 3 to 5 years. And I've been dibbling and dabbling a bit in the triathlon training world at the moment. So still humming and hawing if I'm going to give the tri world a try. But been doing a lot of bike riding and a lot of running, and just looking at seeing how it feels to jump across to a different arena for a while. So been really enjoying the training. So you may see me throwing a lovely little tri outfit in the near future to give that a crack.
So those bikes for the triathlon, are they all like carbon fibre, or there must be a special bike for that, eh?
There are some special bikes out there, but I actually grabbed my old FIFO bike that I had for about the last 20 years. I've pulled it out of storage, given it a good dust up, stripped down and rebuild. Found someone in WA that was lovely enough to give it a vinyl wrap for me. Dropped it off to the bike shop and had it all serviced up. So she's running pretty well for an old bike. At the moment, it's just waiting to see how serious I am about doing the tries and whether or not I'm going to go down the pathway of buying a new tri bike that's going to take a big chip out of my budget, I suppose.
Yeah, they get up pretty expensive. I've seen some of them, and they're just like more expensive than a car. Pretty insane.
Oh yeah, I've seen some out there for up to around the $20,000 mark. So definitely not something that's in my budget at the moment. But I'm luckily enough. I've got the home gym set up. I've got a treadmill from back in the day when I used to do a bit of training, and I've also got the old bike that I've been able to fix up. I've got the bike stand. So it's been really helpful to be able to continue training in some capacity whilst all this COVID stuff's been going on.
What roster they got you guys on?
So I was a 5-2-4-3 roster originally, so Staffy's roster, and now with the COVID, I've gone to a 2-2, so 14 days on site, 14 days off, which obviously has changed a lot of things up. Definitely changed my training up quite a lot. Hence the reason I started to look at what training options I could do with inside my cabin, and obviously the restrictions to camp. So a lot of running and a lot of resistance work. So body resistance, push-ups, crunches, that sort of stuff. And then obviously when I get back to Perth, I get the joys of being able to ride along the coastline and run along the coastline and do a bit of gym work at home. So yeah, it's not too bad.
Ah, sweet. Hey, anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap up?
Look, just throwing it out there. Obviously, I've been putting quite a few posts out on Instagram around obviously the changes to my lifestyle and what training-wise has changed too for me. But one of the big things I'd just like to shout out about is obviously looking after your mates. So going back to my roots of being in the Navy, always just making sure our mates are all right. With everything going on in the world at the moment, just pick up the phone, give your mates a call. A lot of us working the 2-2 rosters aren't familiar with it. I know people have gone to month on, week off. Just ask them the question, hey mate, you okay? You want to have a chat? Mental health is a big thing at the moment with everything going on. So that's all I say is, mates looking after mates. We're really good when we go to the pub and have a few beers, but in the lonely times at night, can be pretty tough being away from family and friends. So just give them a shout out, even if you just hit them up on the gram or on Facebook. Just make sure everyone's all right. And, you know, as they keep saying everywhere, we'll get through this together, and I think we will. We'll come out tougher, and yeah.
Have you had any people in your life that have suffered from mental things like that? Any like suicides and stuff?
Yeah, I have had some people in my life suffer from mental health issues. So I had a mate commit suicide back when we were 21. So a really close friend there, and we didn't see it coming. So you know, there's a couple of those people that I still definitely keep in touch with, and we also like do that positive check on each other to make sure that we are okay. I've had some mates throughout my military days that have suffered from depression and mental health issues. Luckily enough, most of them did get help. They are still struggling a little bit, but some of them have been in and out of establishments to have the mental health. And again, look, we've got a nice little group now that we call it the CHAR group, and we just every now and again touch base with each other. And in recent times of like last 3 years, so about 3 years ago, I had my boss actually suffering from mental depression, and they actually took their own life. And again, it was a very sad time and very tough time, especially for an organisation like I work in, everyone knowing each other, and yeah, just a really tough time and tough thing to get through. So as I said, the best thing you can do for all of that sort of stuff is have that talk, sit down with one another and just ask, are you okay? Is everything going all good? And all of that sort of stuff. Probably one of the biggest things from my perspective is we do talk about it a lot in obviously the mining industry, about asking people about are you okay, and the Are You Okay campaigns. But if you do ask someone how they're feeling, or do you need a chat, make sure that yourself you've got the time to actually sit down and listen to them and have that talk, because it can also work in reverse. If you say, hey Aaron, how you doing? Do you feel like having a chat? And they say, yeah, I would like to have a chat, and then you're too busy to talk, so it can have an adverse effect. So just make sure if you're asking the questions, be willing to listen. And a lot of the times people just want to talk and get something off their chest and feel like they've got the support. So yeah.
No, it's definitely a good bit of advice, and definitely helps like talking to people. Because of the gyms are closed now, it's forced us to like change our training up. So we've actually got like a walking group. So there's probably like 6 of us that do walks around camp, and yeah, you get everything off your chest there, just having a chat. Yeah, it's a spin out. It just shows you that you never actually know what's going on through somebody else's head. They look all fine and everything, but then suddenly when you do start chatting to them, yeah, it spins the amount of stuff that's going on through their life and stuff, and yeah, you would never have picked it. So yeah, I can see why these people commit suicide, and people go, oh, I didn't realize anything was a problem. They looked all fine, because yeah, everybody looks fine, because no one wants to walk around being all sad and stuff. So I guess they probably put on that fake like happy face, and then yeah. So I think what I'm trying to get at is I totally agree with what you said before, that you got to ask the question, and you actually have to be available to listen. Hey, where can people find you online if they want to follow you?
Yeah, so post all of my stuff around my swimming and pancare, all my ambassador stuff and that on Instagram. So it's the main sort of handle to follow me at. So it's at AEK_just keep swimming. Yeah, jump online, check us out, see what you think. Feel free to hit me up with a DM, and yeah, it'll be good times.
Nah, awesome. Oh, might wrap it up here. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Aaron. Did you have fun?
Certainly did have fun, Aaron. So yeah, if you want to chat again, always happy to chat. As I said, I'll chat for hours about swimming.
Ha, awesome. Oh, well, that's a wrap. I'd like to thank Aaron again for coming on the show, and I'd like to thank you, the listener, for listening. Please tell a friend about the podcast, and have a fantastic day.